You're changing the nation. You really are. You're changing the nation. It builds upon the dozen of executive actions my administration has taken to reduce gun violence, more than any of my predecessors, and I suspect more than all of them combined. Everything from cracking down on ghost guns, gun trafficking, so much more. Folks, we're not stopping there. It's time, once again, to do what I did when I was a senator. Ban assault weapons. I mean it. Who in God's name needs a magazine which can hold 200 shells? Nobody, that's right. I remember when I was campaigning, when I was a senator, going through the wetlands of Delaware to meet all the people who were most upset with me, the fishermen and the hunters. And I came across a guy who was fishing, and he said, "You want to take my gun?" And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, I don't want to take your gun. You're allowed to have a gun, but I want to take away your ability to use an assault weapon." And he, "Well, no, this is how the conversation went." He said, "What do you mean I need that gun?" I said, "Guess what? If you need 12 to 100 bullets in a gun, in a magazine, you're the lousiest shot I've ever heard. I'm serious." And to his credit, he looked at me and said, "You have a good point." But think about it. They're weapons of war. And by the way, it's time we establish universal background checks. And by the way, and require the safe storage of firearms. We should hold families responsible if they don't provide those locks on those guns. If in fact, because 3 of these major crime scenes I visited were ones where the mother or father left open, left the stuff out on the desk, left it out on the table, and the kid came and used it. And by the way, this is most important, the only industry in America that has immunity are gun dealers. We got to end it. End it now. No, I mean it. Imagine if we gave tobacco an exception that could not be prosecuted. What would happen? We'd still, 1,000 more people would be dying of cancer because of smoke inhalation. It's time to increase funding for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives and other law enforcement agencies as well. To solve the crimes faster. Look, unfortunately, it's the only partisan thing I'm going to say. The Congressional Republicans oppose all of these, every one of these. Instead of trying to stop our ban on ghost gun kits that contain these, that commit crimes, they're working like hell to stop it. They want to abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which is responsible for fighting gun crime. You can't be pro-law enforcement and say you are pro-law enforcement and be pro-abolishing the AFT. You can't do it. It's outrageous. I disagree with some of my own party and on the other side on a lot of things, but at least there's some rational argument they have as part of their argument. What in God's name is the rationale for taking away the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? After a school shooting in Iowa that killed a student and a teacher, my predecessor was asked about it. You remember what he said? He said, "Have to get over it." Hell no, we don't have to get over it. We got to stop it. We got to stop it and stop it now. More children are killed in America by guns than cancer and car accidents combined. My predecessor told the NRA convention recently, he's proud that, quote, "I did nothing on guns when I was president. And by doing nothing, he made the situation considerably worse." That's why every town, why this summit, why all of you here today are so damn important. We need you. We need you to overcome the unrelenting opposition of the gun lobby, gun manufacturers, so many politicians when they oppose common sense gun legislation. I used to be when I was no longer the vice president, I became a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Before that, I taught a constitutional law class, and so I taught the Second Amendment. There's never been a time that says you can own anything you want. Never. You couldn't own a cannon during the Civil War. No, I'm serious. Think about it. How much have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty. Wash it, go. Give me a break. No, I mean it, seriously. And by the way, if they want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle. Folks, look, this is crazy what we're talking about. Because whether we're Democrats or Republicans, we want our families to be safe. We all want to drop them off at a house of worship, a mall, a movie theater, a school, without worrying it's the last time I'm going to get to see them. We all want our kids to have the freedom to learn how to read and write in schools instead of learn how to duck and cover, for God's sake. And above all, we all agree, we are not finished. Look, no single action can solve the entirety of the gun violence epidemic, but together, our efforts, your efforts, are saving lives. You can help rally a nation with a sense of urgency and seriousness of purpose. You're changing the culture. We've proven we can do more than just thoughts and prayers. Just more than thoughts and prayers. You're changing politics. You're proving that you're powerful and you're relentless, and I mean that. Let me close with this. I know many people here have been impacted by gun violence and are tired and frustrated. I know. I've been to too many. I've literally spoken with well over 1,000 families at these events that I've attended, mass shootings. And look in their eyes. You can almost feel that black hole they feel in the center of their chest, like they're being sucked in. There's no way out. If they have remaining children, you look at the children and they wonder, Mommy, Daddy, how about me? And I know you may wonder, are we ever going to make full progress that we need to make? I'm here to tell you, we have no choice. We cannot give up trying. For all the lives lost and all those who are still there to save, we're going to get there. I have no illusions about how difficult it may be, but I also have no illusions about the people in this room. You're changing the attitude of the public. I really mean, I'm going back to why I got here in the first place. And it's to say thank you. I can come up with all these ideas about the laws we can change to make it easier. But you're changing people's lives. You're convincing your neighbors and people this is necessary. It's beginning to move. Look what we've already done around the community. Look at the movement you've built, the elected officials standing with you. Look at all the mothers' organizations across the country.
Mr. President, you are making a change too. I love you so much. And
Look, when there's a crisis, half what people affected by a crisis have to know is anybody listening? Do you hear me? Do they hear what we're saying? Listen to the young people who are speaking out. That's the power of the memory of your loved ones. That's the power of this movement. That's the power of America. We just have to keep going and keep the faith. Remember who we are. We are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity when we act and do it together. So God bless you all, and may God protect the truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep it up.
And we always got you covered here on Live Now from Fox. Stay right here with us. More to come in just moments, in just 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Austin Westfall. Let's turn to some tech news. You've likely heard by now, Apple is going all in with artificial intelligence, announcing several new AI features and a partnership with ChatGPT maker OpenAI. The company announced the deal at its Worldwide Developers Conference on Monday afternoon, otherwise known as WWDC. The highly anticipated AI partnership is the first of its kind for Apple. I want to discuss this more with AI researcher Dan Faggella. As always, Dan, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Let's just talk a little bit about Apple and its adoption of artificial intelligence, because it depends where you get your news from, but a lot of the analysis that I've read seems to point to the fact that Apple is a little bit slower to adopting some of this AI technology, especially compared to competition like Meta, Google, things of that nature. Why is it that they are doing this? Were they just pretty much waiting to get it right like they have with so many other Apple products?
I think there's a lot to kind of roll in here. I think that Apple is less about the technology buzzwords and more about the user experience. They didn't jump into the VR, AR world until they thought they could hit it, and we'll see what happens with Vision. They obviously went in very early with Siri, but the reason they're in this game, Austin, the big picture here is the following. In the very short term, there's a lot of money to be made based on who owns this kind of agent ecosystem. If I'm speaking to my phone and it's doing things for my business, like sending emails or drawing up proposals, or it's ordering a babysitter or ordering food for my house, if Meta owns 50% of the US market for that, the economic opportunity of that for advertising or whatever their monetization model is will be gigantic. Apple, just the same. And so we have, our kind of Meta, Facebook, Microsoft plus OpenAI, and then Google are kind of the big players here. So there's a lot of dollars in the near term because this really is the next phase of sort of consumer sort of interaction with computers, I think, in many regards. In the longer term, though, there's a much bigger play here around if the company that owns the data that comes out of the most human skulls, so to speak, and goes back into those skulls, will have the most data to train on to build artificial general intelligence. And we see 3 out of those players, Apple is the only exception, who have stated overtly that their main goal is to build AGI, which could mean a gigantic and almost unassailable economic advantage. So we got a near-term game to play, but we've got a much bigger power game to play around monopolizing kind of substrate and kind of user data that they're entering as well.
So let's play a game of where this all goes, I suppose. So let's say Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Let's make this nice and clean here. Let's just talk about the big 3 there.
Sure.
So if they are getting data, Apple is getting data from this new technology that they're releasing, this new software, this feeds the AI and it makes it smarter over time.
Yes.
And that's only useful for Apple in that case. It's not used for the group.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this would just be training Apple's models and Apple's systems, exactly.
are they all tapped into OpenAI's software, though?
Well, I mean, I think this is some of the contention that isn't quite clear about everything that undergirds this partnership. I mean, they're riding on OpenAI, and so they're certainly more connected to Microsoft through OpenAI than they are connected to Google, at least in terms of this particular AI application here. So that's one particular thing. There's been a little contention between them and some of the ad providers like Google and Meta with some of what they've done with the iPhone in the last handful of years here. It's not 1,000% clear exactly how this works, but it seems as though there's some symbiosis where Apple has this really cool fun fact of being in front of everybody all the time. So I'm using multiple Apple devices right now, and my alarm clock will be my iPhone. They're in everybody's pockets all the time, arguably much more than Microsoft, certainly in certain markets. I think that probably Apple wants to own that data inflow and outflow, and they want to build a really strong strategic moat with much more powerful AI. Probably OpenAI sees this as an opportunity to maybe make their AI a little bit smarter. I don't know, and I don't know if anyone does, frankly, deep under the hood, who owns what and who benefits from what. I will say OpenAI is overtly trying to build artificial general intelligence, and tapping into Apple's gigantic user base could be a great way to do it. But I don't think Apple wants to be outshined here either. So a little bit of co-opetition, seems to be the order of the day.
Co-opetition. I know part of this is Apple working with ChatGPT, or OpenAI maybe I should say, to integrate ChatGPT's software into Apple products, but they're also discussing something called Apple Intelligence. Is Apple Intelligence different than the ChatGPT piece of this?
Here's what it seems to me. I mean, we've seen a bajillion vendors sort of coin terms. And of course, Apple stands a head and shoulders above them in terms of market cap, but phraseology is phraseology. They're sort of using Apple Intelligence as a generic umbrella term for sort of, hey, our devices understand you well. I know what notifications you pay attention to. I know when you set your alarms. I know when you order your food. I know how you handle your inbox if you're using Apple for your email. Apple Intelligence is like their little umbrella of saying, we're going to be personalized just for you. It's going to be private data. We're going to protect it. By the way, I have no idea how true or not true that is. That's just a pleasantry that they have to say, because I think users are naturally quite concerned about how this data is going to be used. But they're using this Apple Intelligence as an umbrella term for the deep personalization that they have because they have such a robust connection with their users. I would say that buzzword encompasses everything they seem to be doing with AI, the ChatGPT sort of OpenAI capabilities included. So more of just an umbrella phraseology there for them.
What will be the most noticeable AI changes on people's iOS devices, on their iPhones, on their iPads? What will they see different?
Yeah, well, exactly what the user interface changes will be in 6 months is tough to say, but what I will say is the clear shift that Apple's moving towards, and also the clear shift that the market's moving towards, is this idea of having a very, very fluent chat and or verbal discourse with your machines in a way that will allow them to conjure and get done what you want to get done. I would say if this goes well, okay, and the only way this goes well is if there's robust adoption of these new features. But if it were to go well, you would have a busy parent at their kitchen counter cutting up sandwiches to put in their kids' lunchboxes, and in the 5 minutes that they're making those sandwiches, they're speaking to their phone or they're speaking to their device, and they're ordering a babysitter, they're ordering groceries, they're figuring out if their flight is already booked or not, they're asking for an agenda to be built for the sales call that they have at 5:30, and they are doing 3 or 4 other things just by talking out loud. They're getting clarity on data, they're kicking off agent-related tasks, and so a massive extension of their consciousness now goes in the form of actions out in the real world, reminders of information, preparation for important tasks, all based on this verbal interface. So what we're moving towards is that as the outcome. Exactly what the icon looks like in the phone, we'll see. But this, I think, is what Apple's shooting for, and it's what everybody's racing for. Because if you win that, you're going to win this bigger substrate monopoly game that I told you about, where everybody wants to be owning the data that's coming out of humans. And I think whoever cracks that first is going to have a very big headway on that big goal.
There's 2 things I want to ask you about. You already mentioned one of them. First of all, Siri. Everybody is familiar with Siri and has been using Siri, and there's also been, people have commented on the fact that Siri perhaps isn't as robust as some of the competition out there. What kind of improvements can be made to Siri by using these AI methods?
Well, I think Apple has touted, and I think time will tell, Austin, but Apple has touted that there will be more understanding of speech in different contexts. So, for example, if there's noise in the background, or if I say, oh, give me directions to this restaurant, wait, no, I mean this restaurant. It will be less confused about what I say if I'm kind of babbling and talking as humans normally do. It'll have more of a human level understanding, so Apple says. And I think that's quite plausible given what the tech can do today. Secondly is context. So this is a big deal, Austin. If I've just been typing into my phone a bunch of searches for a Chinese restaurant, and then I'm talking to my phone and I'm saying, find me directions to the place that my wife sent me last night, right? It'll be able to not just say where, right now if I ask Siri that, I got nothing, okay? But with context, if it's reading my messages and has access to that, and if it's looking at the searches I've recently done, it may be able to, in context, understand from my behavior and our past interactions exactly what I mean and give me what I want. So increased context and increased ability to deal with noise and normal human dialogue is what Apple purports. And I would say the technology, I think, is there to get some of this stuff done. We'll just see if the users adopt it and if it picks up.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask about is Apple Vision Pro. Most people out there do not have this thing in their house yet, but they've no doubt seen this is Apple's virtual headset.
Absolutely.
Has Apple given any little hints as to how this will be factored into something like that?
I haven't seen any robust announcements from them in this regard, but what I will tell you is that great game of who can own the user data is absolutely amplified by virtual reality and augmented reality. I consider that tech to be a when and not an if. I think that just getting people to be immersed in this sort of virtual space is challenging. What we could expect is if I'm in a full virtual reality, I could use verbal prompts and text prompts in a massive number of robust ways to have all kinds of sales emails written for me automatically, outlines and proposals cooked up, marketing plans cooked up, just based on prompt this, prompt that, and have different tabs, different windows all floating in front of me getting done at once. I do think that the future of work very much will involve that kind of a robust immersive symbiosis. Apple hasn't quite painted that vision, and it is yet to be determined as to when we'll cross that chasm, but I believe it will be crossed, Austin. And when we've got a full immersion of the face, and we're piping in and out that data, and we're training AI models on it, Facebook and Meta and Apple are in that race. Whoever wins that one is going to have a boatload of data to work with, but tough to say exactly where it'll go.
I want to also touch on this before we go here. So Elon Musk is voicing privacy and security concerns over OpenAI being involved with this venture. I'm curious, what's the point of friction from an OpenAI perspective? Obviously, they've been in the headlines as of late.
Totally. Well, I mean, here, there's a lot going on. I mean, look, I have nothing but respect for Musk. Absolutely. But Musk is a man that has his own incentives. I think he's sort of playing this card. And now, if you remember in OpenAI's day, they played this card called we're the virtuous little good guy against big evil tech that wants to use your data. Musk is now using that card as he's left OpenAI. Now, OpenAI is the bad guy, Apple's the bad guy, and he's kind of playing this good guy virtuous card. So is Apple doing anything monumentally destructive that is outlandishly beyond what Zuckerberg or others are doing? In my opinion, Austin, no. I'm going to be very frank with you about that. But Musk has got to kind of keep drumming up this game that he's drumming up of kind of being the virtuous little guy. And I think he's calling out these privacy things with Apple for those political reasons. I'm not saying there's no merit to it, but calling out Apple specifically, not a bunch of others who also have data sovereignty issues, it's his game. He's got to play his game, but I don't think we all have to be distracted by it.
All right, Dan, we'll leave it there for now. As always, we appreciate your analysis. Take care. Have a good rest of your night.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Austin.
Let's slide away for a quick 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Back in Live Now, I'm Austin Westfall. Some huge breaking news coming out of the hot dog competition eating world. Joey Chestnut not going to be participating in the 2024 contest. Here's the latest with my colleague, Andy Mack.
Eating addressing this is Joey Chestnut's choice to represent a rival brand, expressing disappointment and hope for his return, though, to Nathan's Famous, saying, quote, "We are devastated to learn that Joey Chestnut has chosen to represent the rival brand in this 4th of July eating contest. He will not be there. MLE, Major League Eating, and Nathan's went to great lengths in recent months to accommodate Joey and his management team, agreeing to the appearance fee and allowing Joey to compete in a rival unbranded hot dog eating contest on Labor Day." Of course, for more on this breaking news story here on Live Now from Fox, I do want to bring in the co-founder of Major League Eating, Richard Shea. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And just how big of a blow is it to not have Joey Jaws Chestnut there on the stage on the 4th of July?
Well, he's a great champion, and we love having him there, and I hope somehow he can change course and be there. The 4th of July is an amazing event, and it predates all of us. It's been going on, the history puts it back to 1916, so it's a fantastic celebration of our Independence Day. But yeah, Joey's a great champion, he's the most dominant competitor ever, and we'd love nothing more than to welcome him back for his 17th title.
Yeah, and he has been compared to Michael Jordan, 16-time champ, 76 dogs is the record there at Nathan's Famous for this Major League Eating contest. Can you just speak to maybe what went into this decision and how hard you guys tried to work to make something work that he would be there?
Well, we always work with Joey and try to welcome him in the best circumstance. And this was just something that surprised us. It wasn't something new. It's not a new stipulation. There's just a brand conflict, so.